Today was very hard.
Very
really hard. It was a lot slower than we thought it would be, and we ended up averaging like 10 miles an hour, maybe less.
Probably less.
It was so much climbing, and it was just like steep. There were a few walk-a-bike sections for me. Man, it was tough. Yeah.
For me, it was a piece of cake.
It's cold.
Super
it's really
easy.
cold.
We're at the base of
Mount Magazine.
Chillaxing.
About to snooze for about 4 hours or so.
Or 2, depending on how cold we are.
I know.
Or now.
Where we are right now is in our buddy's shed, like monster shed, and he allows us to stay here in the RV, which is, you know, so generous, and so we just kind of, you know,
spread our bike stuff, and we spend a lot of time right here facing this wall on our bicycles.
Yeah, because we have the kids, right? So this is our training studio. My background is bike riding. I've been on my bike for probably 35 years now. You know, I was a decent professional rider, working my butt off, training all the time.
I come from actually a running background, but picked up cycling when I was in my mid-20s, and then I've been racing professionally on the road for the last 7 years. I was able to join some of the best teams in the US. I raced for United Healthcare, Tibco, Huggins Berman, and then the last team I was on was 2020. And the travel and the racing experience are something that I will just really hold on to and treasure for my entire life. I put a lot of pressure on myself. I had gotten so fixated on performing and wattage and power and all this stuff, instead of really focusing on what I had learned and what cycling had given me throughout these years that I've been a pro. And I kind of hit rock bottom with road racing early in 2018, and I walked off the pro scene. I kind of pretended that I didn't care about cycling for a few months, put my bike away, we went on a road trip, and that was all great, but secretly, deep down inside, I desperetely missed it.
And yeah, she's right. Like 3 months later, she's like, why did I do that? I can't believe I told my team I was done. Because sometimes we just need to step out of our box and realize what we're doing to ourselves so we can, you know, just relax and enjoy life for a minute.
I spent the summer just kind of evaluating really what I wanted out of cycling, out of life. And I realized that maybe I need to stop thinking about what I've gotten from cycling and instead think about what I want to give it. When my mindset changed to what can I give the sport instead of what can I take from it, I became a different person. And that fall, we decided, let's just ride some new roads. Like let's just do something different.
As she was looking for that next thing to do, you know, she gets, you know, on social media, and she's like just scrolling through pictures, and like, you know, there's this cyclist on this like mountain with gravel in the background and these huge mountains. And she's like, where's that? I want to go ride those mountains.
And that was the time that we found out about the Silk Road Mountain Race, and it was that picture, and I showed Ernie, I was like, look at this cyclist. She's like, it was a female in the picture. I was like, this woman is riding through freezing rain up a mountain pass. I've never done anything that hard. Like, I think I've done things that are hard, but that looks freaking hard. I wanna do that. The Silk Road Mountain Race was so unknown and so different from anything I've ever done that I almost couldn't put expectation on myself. I just went in completely blind. We got started on day one and realized we were completely in over our heads.
I mean, it's the hardest thing I've ever done, and I've been cycling for 30-something years.
We finished that, and we come back to Arkansas, and we're like, people need to feel what it feels like to complete something like that. So after we finished Silk Road and we had a few hours of sleep, I was like, I want to do this. I really want to do this. Like this is something that I really grew from, and I want to continue to grow from it. And so I think in 2020, I'd really like to learn how to do this type of racing. And he was like, oh, great.
Yeah.
We don't need to go far to do that. We have this beautiful route. It's rugged, it's a lot of climbing. It's gonna be incredibly hard here in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And why not showcase where we live and the beauty of this state and then just go see what we can do.
Well, we're getting ready for our adventure. We got Scotti's Essentials, her coffee, her oatmeal. What?
Might be better if you like turn it on and say like it's 4:30 a.m. blah blah blah.
It's 4:30 a.m. and I'm waking up for my adventure.
Bikes are on the car. Ready to go. It's freaking cold this morning. 29 degrees. We're ready.
The Arkansas High Country Race is just over 1,000 miles. Our goal is to do it in 5 days.
It is a self-supported race, so
Yeah.
like we have to bring all our stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's no outside help whatsoever. You're on your own.
Don't come though.
Don't come.
Don't come if we call you. Just like, suck it up, guys.
Ready or not, right? I guess here we go.
I never feel ready for these types of things.
How much time till you have to leave?
About 10 minutes.
My boy's godmother told me last night that if we got paid for being crazy, we would be millionaires.
See you on the other side.
Bye.
We decided to leave at 7 a.m. It was really cold and it was really damp air. I just remember we were riding over the Little Rock River and you could just see all this fog.
How you feeling, Ernie?
What that means for us is like you just never really get dry. We never got dry this entire trip from the first hour.
Right, first gravel section. How do you feel?
We had a really good first century, so we were about at 7 hours at that point, and so we were kind of doing the math in our head, like 7 hour century, this is looking really good. We'll probably be able to bang out like 230 miles today.
Didn't work out that.
And then we hit some hills and the momentum just plummets, and so it was just like snail speed.
Peanut butter time.
Getting it everywhere.
Nice.
It's getting cold.
Yep.
We stopped just over 200 miles that first day, and which was kind of on target for our pace, so we felt good, and we slept for, I think, 4 hours, but we were just freezing.
And then you woke up in the morning and then you had to put on wet clothes on.
And 28 degrees, you know, it wasn't pleasant.
All right, good morning. This is day 2. Close to Oklahoma border. Really cold night.
We start rolling on day 2 and we ride for a couple hours. He had a mechanical issue and he forgot the one tool that he needed to fix his
That's right, I
derailleur.
forgot about that, yeah.
And so when we got to Hatfield, this little bitty town, there was a cafe open and we stopped and got some food and that was awesome. And he found a car garage that happened to have the hex tool that he needed.
We're 37 miles in like what, 4 hours? So, low morning today.
There were 4 main climbs on day 2 that we had to tackle. Some of them were hike-a-bikes at the top. Like you had just been climbing for 6 or 7 miles and then at the top, I remember looking down and my computer said 19%. With a, 45-pound bicycle, it's just...
Yeah, it's definitely torture.
Who knew there was hike-a-bike in Arkansas? 19%.
You can get into a rhythm when we were doing Silk Road. And here, the climb was so steep, because you couldn't keep momentum going, it just made it seem harder because it was on and off instead of just getting into a really good rhythm.
Good morning, Scotty. Where are you at today?
We're on Mount Magazine. Spent another really chilly night. Kind of damp when we stopped and damp when we woke up. We didn't get quite as far as we wanted to yesterday, but
We're not fast enough. Guys, we're starting day 3. Wish us luck.
To a lot of the roadies in Arkansas, everyone knows Mount Magazine as kind of the longest, hardest climb in Arkansas, and I can definitely report that that was one of the easiest climbs on this route.
When you have pavement, it's just so much easier to roll. You just put your head down and you're just kind of going, even though when you go on your road bike, you think it's the hardest thing in the world. We thought we were gonna cruise all the way to Russellville, but we got into this gravel section and it was just heavy gravel. The really pitchy climb started happening there and we just could not get into a rhythm. We were like cold sweating and take our clothes off and we put the clothes back on just because we couldn't stay dry.
We hit Russellville, which was a good boost in morale. Had a huge ass burger from Whataburger in Russellville.
Whataburger's awesome.
We rolled out and saw Chuck Campbell, who's the course promoter and organizer, the guy that actually made the course, was waiting for us on course. You leave the Ouachita behind once you leave Russellville and you start entering the Ozark Mountains.
Yeah.
And you're tracking kind of northwest to Fayetteville and Bentonville. That night was probably the worst of all. We found this campground that was kind of an RV campground. And so there was this little gatehouse, just like a little 10 by 10 foot guardhouse. And I tried the door and it was unlocked and I peeked in there and it had just enough concrete for 2 people to lay down. I'm like, hey, we're gonna stay here. We got our sleeping bags out, laid down, and the dogs came and barked outside our door relentlessly. For 3 hours, and I mean, I was so just like
I slept.
I was laying there just so mad that I was just like, let's go, let's just ride.
But I mean, that was also kind of our plan. We had said to ourselves, we're gonna sleep 2 to 3 hours, and then we're gonna take off and go. We're gonna try to make it to Fayetteville by daylight.
And at like 7 a.m. that morning, it was after the sun rose, I remember we were almost to Fayetteville. We were within like 30 miles, and I was like, Ernie, I just almost fell asleep on my bicycle. I literally did the swerve and kind of like woke myself up. And I said, I'm gonna lay down just for 5 minutes and close my eyes. I got cold, which is why I woke up.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd been out for hours. And he's like, you were literally on the ground for 3 minutes.
I know. So we stopped in Fayetteville and had some coffee.
Real food.
Yeah, we had some coffee.
Real breakfast.
Yeah, some awesome breakfast. We got a couple of burritos to go.
And we hit Eureka Springs right about dark on day 4. It was like we had all this good energy from the day, and both of us, it was just like we tanked.
This is 12 a.m. on, I guess it's Tuesday, and we're about to leave. We slept here last night for 4 hours. It was glorious to not be cold, not get wet. We're about to get rolling, and bodies are definitely worked, stiff as a board, swollen, but we're looking forward to making some ground, so see you guys.
Getting to Jasper was really difficult as well. There's this one section,
it was
probably
like a
the
hiking
hardest
trail. I mean,
yeah,
huge
hiking
rocks,
mountain bike trail for sure.
like boulder hops down.
Really crazy beat up Jeep trail. So it took us, 2 hours longer than we expected to get to Jasper. But once we got to Jasper again, we sat down at a restaurant. We had some awesome food for about an hour while I washed the bikes. And then we left Jasper.
Went to Whit Springs, which was our last stop for the whole trip. And we ended up sleeping just 2 hours. And when I woke up from that 2-hour nap, I stood up and I almost fell over. It's like my joints, my knees and my Achilles had locked up so bad, and I was just walking like a grandma. Like I almost needed like a
crutches.
Yeah. Anytime you stop though, you just get tight and sore. And so we get back on the bike and I'm like, man, Ernie, my knee is just killing me. And he's like, we only have like 100 something miles, just over 100 miles to go. You got this. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And like I was doing everything I could just not to break down in tears. I was in that much pain.
Right before Greenbrier, I'm like, hey Scotty, we got to do something. We really have to do something about this because I want to make it home today. Like, I don't want to be stuck in the rain again. I was like, hey, we're just going to go by the Walmart. We're going to figure out and get something so I can pull you.
He rigs up this dog leash and he puts the doggy clip on around his seat post. and he zip ties the retractable end to my aero bars.
Yeah.
And I was pedaling and I was assisting, but I was not putting down as much power. And so we got to where, you know, I was more comfortable and we were making decent time again. But it was the longest 60 miles I've ever done.
So we rolled in about 1 o'clock.
We were able to set a new course record as a pair, and we did beat the solo record that existed. It was hard.
It was really hard.
It's so beautiful up here.
So pretty.
When you don't have a finish line that's directly in sight, like it's 1,000 miles away, your brain just goes through every possible scenario of how hard it could be or how miserable it could be or the, you know, obstacles that you might encounter. And it's a constant reminder that all you can really do is deal with the moment that you're given. I think that's what I like about it so much is I've never been good at just being in the moment, and you kind of have to master that to not go crazy out there. And when you finish something like that and you get to the other side and you compare yourself with who you were before and who you are after, man, it's empowering. And that is my mission now, is like I want people to believe that they're infinitely more capable than they think they are. It did that for us, and I think whether your goal is just to get off the couch and learn how to ride the bike, or whether it's to go to Kyrgyzstan and really challenge your limits, you can begin anywhere. And that's what we really want to share with people.
What are you doing?
We're at the Waffle House with bags under our eyes because it's 2 a.m.
I'll have bags.
I have bags. Look how
Have ponchos.
Get ponchos.
Light your fire by the rivers. Sleep
Well,
on
we're
the
here because
ground.
we're starving.
Ramble, ramble, ramble. It's the only way back home. See the crows come and tell your story to the smoke. What can't hold itself up on the land, I say, let it go. Great grandma, she hit a lightning bolt. No workbench faces wood. Said there's a hole in the bucket. Now you're here, go fix it good.